As we draw to an end of season for Lateline Business this week and a year where business stories have dominated front pages, we thought it worth looking at the challenges for business media in an industry that is changing very fast, both technologically and in pay models. It all comes down to how to attract and keep those eyeballs. That's the challenge for the new editor-in-chief at the Australian Financial Review, Michael Stutchbury, who joins me now. Welcome to the programme, Michael.
Good to be here, Tikki.
Big new strategy, big turnaround for the Fin. Your June figures, I think you had under 74,000 readers. Now, that's less than what I get at 11 o'clock at night. So what do you want to achieve and how are you going to do it?
Well, I think the Financial Review is traditionally a great brand. It's a great name in Australian journalism. It's a great name in Australian business journalism. But I think there is some upside to the Financial Review story, and I think we can turn it into a growth story by reinvigorating the journalism, concentrating on news breaking, going back to setting the agenda like the Financial Review has a proud tradition in, and really being the authoritative and trusted news in voice in business news and information.
It's a clear belief in print, isn't it? And I noticed that, for instance, the Wall Street Journal now is looking at carrying more general news as well, more international news to compete and drag in perhaps readers from, say, the New York Times. Is that something? How do you see the landscape in Australia turning out?
Well, I think the Financial Review is a newspaper and an online site for business people, for sophisticated investors, for the executive class, and for some of the intelligentsia class, and I think that they have an interest in business and financial news. They also have an interest in sort of broader things as well, and you probably are seeing in the US where it is becoming nationally the Wall Street Journal versus the New York Times. You're probably seeing a similar thing in Australia where the two main national papers, one of which is a business paper, the Financial Review, is going more head-to-head against what is traditionally a more generalist paper, which in turn has increased its business focus in the last decade or so.
Which brings us to the Australian, which is where you have been recently poached from. I must say that at some stage this year, I was actually reading the Australian business section before I was reading the Financial Review.
That's no good.
Well, you have gone over there. I don't know who dragged you across, whether it was Brett Clegg or Greg Highwood, but you have since been dragging bodies over from the Australian to the Financial Review. You've obviously got something of a budget.
Look, I've been very fortunate in 30 years of journalism to spend most of that time at the Financial Review, but a large part of the time at the Australian. And you do get people going back and forth, and with the regime there with Greg Highwood and Brett Clegg have given me a real opportunity to, I think, revitalise the Financial Review. When I was at the Australian, there was a sort of flow of people over to that paper. I think naturally now you are seeing a little bit of a flow the other way. I'd love to say we had a big open chequebook, but unfortunately that's not the case in the current environment. But I think there also is, the opportunity to invest, if you manage the place properly, to invest in good journalism, as Greg Highwood and Brett Clegg have both said.
All right, well, let's go to money. The AFR paywall, over $1,300 a year. It's been pretty counterproductive. I think your CEO, Greg Highwood, admitted as much this week. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I think I'm coming to the Financial Review after being away for a long time, being basically away for all the internet era. I was there sort of the pre-internet era. The Financial Review has been pretty much a pioneer or a first mover in trying to monetise content on the internet and business news. And I think it is true, very high paywall. It's also true that there's been a lot of, as they say, learnings out of that, and you will see, I think, as Greg Highwood has intimated, over the next couple of weeks you'll see quite a significant change in the business model at the Financial Review. Inevitably that means that the high paywall will become more porous, there'll be a little bit more perhaps outside the paywall, and you'll probably see the paywall coming down in various sorts of pricing models which make it a little bit more attractive proposition for people.
Yes, Greg Highwood said it would be somewhere between $0 and $1,300. But then he actually said that he wouldn't rule out Fairfax not having paywalls. Could that include the Financial Review?
Well, it depends how you do your package in terms of your print product and your online product, and you can do some quite innovative things mixing it. But I think you are seeing basically a model where the Financial Review's had a very high paywall, and that will come down. And
so you have some content moved completely outside of that paywall? Because I'm looking at something outside like the Business Spectator, yes, which has been very successful, a free site.
Yes, perhaps not all that financially successful, but and that's that's a real challenge. But inevitably there'll be more outside the paywall, and I think it'll become a more attractive proposition. For me as an editor who's there to provide the journalistic content, that's a really good thing, because I think it provides the opportunity to provide the public with more access to some of the best business and financial journalism in the country.
Presumably an option is actually buying Business Spectator. I mean, that's certainly been rumoured that it's in play.
Well, that'd be a very interesting thing to think about.
All right, and now let's go back to current affairs. How are you going to opine tomorrow on MyEFO and the greatest treasurer in the world?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the Financial Review traditionally has been an agenda-setting paper, so we do have to really take a big view of what's going on here. There has been this debate about whether it's a political thing or a wrong thing to go into a budget surplus as the economy may be slowing down. I think, and the paper will say, that's the wrong debate. That's really the opposite, that the financial crisis out of Europe shows that when a country like Germany has trouble getting its bunds away, there is a big premium on countries that can show they really keep their budget discipline. The reality is, of course, that Australia should be running a very large budget surplus now. You know, commodity prices are their highest on record. Unemployment's quite low. We should already have a big budget surplus. Instead, we've got a budget deficit blowout to $37 billion, I think it is, with a promise of a budget surplus next year. I think we need to, and so the problem is that the government, I think, has correctly identified that we do need to get back to surplus, but there's been a little bit too many, what we might call a three-card trick in trying to get back there, so it does look a bit politically tricky in the end.
You've got the power to run some big campaigns. What do you see as the major issues for next year?
Well, I think the big issue, of course, is does this euro crisis, really the second stage of the global financial crisis, really affect the global economy and particularly China for us? That means that we're still, though, really managing this once-in-a-century mining boom. That's a really big task for us to manage in some key areas, particularly industrial relations. We're going backwards.
I notice you've got these breaking stories at the moment on Qantas, which is very much on the IR front. Do you think that sort of story is going to continue?
I think that in key parts of the Australian economy and the business economy, the industrial relations regime and the workplace regulation under Julia Gillard's Fair Work Act has taken us backwards, whereas we should be going forwards to more flexibility. The new rules are empowering unions to really intrude more into areas of managerial prerogative, and that's making it harder for the Australian business community and businesses to basically adapt to the tougher economic environment, particularly in the slow lane of the two-speed economy.
Michael Stutchbury, it's my hope that we can grow the market, the ABC and the Fin Review together. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Dickie.